Oh, hello. My name is Doug Headley, and this is my submission for the Ruby Nuby video. I'm here to talk today about how I got into Ruby, why I have this office that I have now. Well, it all kind of started back in my youth. For my 13th birthday, I had a 14.4 kilobaud modem as a birthday gift, and we played Doom 3 players. It was pretty awesome, via a long serial cable to my neighbors, and I would call in to my buddy across town. And then, so I had a very heavy geek-oriented upbringing, and then I went to college, and I got a degree in liberal arts, which is another long story in itself, but all in all, I'm happy with the degree I got, because I got out of college, and I looked around, and this was around 2003, and MySpace was becoming popular, so I had a degree in mass media communications. I started to feel that the top-down view of disseminating information was changing, and that anyone with a computer could make a website via MySpace at the time and have ability to communicate with people on the web. So I started a business to create MySpace pages for businesses, and it taught me about CSS and HTML and why autoplay YouTube videos are a bad thing. So that's how it kind of began. I was using a computer all the time, and I thought I could make a business of it, and I had clients, but the real growth for me was, oh shoot, I should remember where these go. So the real growth for me was when I was introduced to Firefox, and it was an open source project, and I was confounded by that. I didn't know what it was, but it had all the tools I needed to conduct my work in the browser and then make the changes as I saw fit. You know, what you would think the equivalent today is Firebug, but it was called Web Developer Toolbar. So then I was doing that. I had a very technically savvy cube mate back at one of my jobs in the mailroom at Genentech, and he showed me Linux, which was a level up from an open source browser to an open source operating system. And just for the sheer interest, I got involved in it. So it's going to open for me. So I did that. What the? Ugh. I got involved in that, and that was tough, because open source back then, they didn't have the drivers for Wi-Fi. But I would hack into everything. I even remember taking my iPod and saving the HTML files from work, and then bringing them back and reading them to get my drivers for my Wi-Fi up on my computer, so that I could run, sudo apt-get update. So I got involved in that. I took the plunge, and I made Linux a full-time thing for me, and I just never looked back. So from there, I started building servers, lamp stacks, and I was building WordPress pages, because it was a level beyond just MySpace, which had already gotten stale. Let's see here. So I was building websites. That's how my business started to grow and develop. And I was learning the command line. I was loving it. I was getting involved with people that were psyched about computers. And I got good at it. And I wasn't making money off of it necessarily. It was just kind of like a side thing. And it got to a point where I learned enough to do, I can make 10 WordPress, Terminator templates that just need to be skinned with Arnold Schwarzenegger's skin, and then ship them however I wanted to my server and make the changes and collect my monies. But I really wanted to learn how to code, and this is 2007. I had learned about Twitter and how popular it was, and that they were using Ruby on Rails. What I had heard about it at the time was it was the fastest way from conception to implementation. And I saw, like I saw with MySpace, kind of a pendulum swing the other way, a precipice, where I could either learn PHP, which is what I was developing, hackishly via WordPress. I don't know if you'd call it developing. But, and start, which one is the one I want? Oh, yeah, okay. And start actually programming. So the other alternative was to use Ruby. And having looked at Ruby with seriousness, I ended up beta testing for a thing called Trogger, which doesn't exist, and loved the experience, and it was built on Ruby on Rails, and that's just how I heard about it, and that it was the new hotness. So I decided to take the jump, and that's what I would learn to do. Alright. So then I was learning it around 2009. I'd got my book. I was just learning it kind of, on the side, and not very quickly. However, that was the time the economy crashed and I lost my job. So I was on unemployment, and I made a conscious decision at that point that I am going to learn this as a way of retraining my skill sets. So before I had held jobs like, was I? Tenant coordinator before that when I got laid off. I worked in various desk jobs. And they weren't really going anywhere. So I set out to learn Rails and do kind of the same concept where it was my side business, and I would build websites using this platform, and then learn about Ruby at the same time. I believe I called on the podcast Just-in-Time Learning, and that was what I set out to do. I was building websites, still using WordPress because it was so freaking easy. But I started calling myself a Rails developer. And I set out to build a Twitter application. My hello world was, I would look through all my tweets and see if I said, +1 jock or +2 geek. And I would measure how much of a jock or a geek I would be represented on Twitter. And it was some regular expressions. I was using the console because I was comfortable. And I was having a blast. No one understood what I was doing. My normal friends weren't coders, so everything I was doing was kind of alien to them. But they really enjoyed my passion for it, so it worked out. And so, calling yourself a Ruby on Rails developer gets you a lot of attention for jobs. So I set out to find some. I got some contracts, and I worked on a bunch of stuff for people, gaining knowledge for very little money, but it was the experience that was beneficial. And eventually, I got to a place where I was able to get a salaried job. And so here I am, some dude with a liberal arts degree, and I have some semblance of knowledge of Ruby, and I'm a salaried Rails engineer for a startup. And I took it very seriously, and I learned a lot. They went belly up and still owe me some money, but that's just kind of the way it goes. From there, I remember distinctly, which is why I brought my laptop at the time. I was developing everything on my laptop, like here. While I had gotten a salary job, I decided to buy myself a smartphone. And the smartphone in my pocket was actually more powerful than my laptop that I used to make production code. So I was involved in Ruby, and I kept learning. I kept the just-in-time learning and diving in deeper and deeper, much like I did with Linux, much like I did with HTML. And now I would call myself a Ruby noob. I've built some crawlers, some custom code. Right now I'm working on various inner business solutions for our account management team, trying to make life easier. And when I'm not doing Ruby, I'm doing, when I'm not doing work projects, I'm doing rebootourschools.org, which is, I'm the CTO. We distribute laptops from e-waste, incorporate e-waste, and deliver them to kids in public schools. Or I'm working on crazy projects that interest me. Just kind of the new tools that I hear about on your podcast that I want to learn. I'll go invent some need for it, and then through that need, learn those skills. So that's pretty much it. I have absolutely no computer science background, and yet here I am. I really enjoy your podcast, and I learn a lot. There's a lot of questions that I don't even know I should be asking, and that's where you guys come in. And so I'd like to thank you very much, and let's see if this RAM is actually working. Did I hit all the points? Oh yeah, my name is Doug, by the way, and I live in Seattle. I just upgraded from 4 gigs of RAM to 16, so I'm very excited. So there's some weird memory overruns in Firefox, and 4 was just not cutting it. And I love Firefox. The story I told just happened to be Firefox was a pivotal moment, so I don't want to give it up for Chrome, and I also don't want to give up my plugins, which I love. So I had more RAM sent to me. Oh yeah. Anyway, thank you very much for watching my video, and thank you very much for your podcasts. I will